Okay, people, this is going to be long. This is going to be a lot. I've been holding this in for months, navigating legal hell, and now that it's finally over, I feel like I can breathe for the first time in forever. This isn't just a story about a bad employee. This is a story about betrayal so profound it almost cost me my life, and the sheer audacity of someone who thought they could get away with it. It all started about 6 months ago. I'm a single mom. My husband passed away 3 years ago, suddenly. It left a gaping hole and, honestly, a massive financial burden. I work two jobs to keep my head above water and provide for my two incredible kids, Leo, 8, and Mia, 6. My life is a constant juggle, a tightrope walk between work, school, homework, meals, and just trying to be present for them. My saving grace, my absolute lifeline, was our nanny, Chloe. Chloe had been with us for 2 years. She was seemingly perfect, kind, patient, engaged with the kids, always punctual. She felt like family. She was there for the school runs, homework help, dinner prep, bedtime routines, all of it. I trusted her implicitly. When I had to travel for work or had late shifts, she was the one I counted on. She had access to our house, our cars, and yes, because I'm an idiot who trusted too much, an emergency credit card specifically for groceries, kids' activities, and any household needs that might come up when I was busy. It had a modest limit, but it was there for convenience. Then, about 6 months ago, I started feeling off, really off. Headaches, extreme fatigue, weird, dizzy spells. I talked it up to stress, grief, overwork, but it got worse. One Tuesday evening, after putting the kids to bed, I collapsed. Full, unannounced blackout collapse in the living room. I woke up on the floor disoriented, feeling like my head was splitting open. I tried to move, but a searing pain shot through my skull, and my left arm felt numb. I knew with a terrifying clarity that this wasn't just stress. This was bad. I managed to crawl to my phone, which had conveniently fallen off the coffee table during my fall. I called 911, they got me to the hospital, and things moved fast. Very fast. Diagnosis, a massive aneurysm. It had ruptured. I was hemorrhaging in my brain. The doctors moved me straight to the ICU. Emergency surgery. They told me later I was incredibly lucky to have even regained consciousness on my own, let alone called for help. I was in a critical state. For days, I was touch and go. I was heavily sedated, tubes everywhere, fighting for my life. My immediate thought after, oh my God, I might die, was my kids. Who's with my kids? Before the surgery, in the brief window of lucidity I had, I managed to whisper to the ICU nurse, please call my nanny, Chloe. She has my kids. I gave her Chloe's number and my sister's number. My sister Sarah lived 2 states away, and I didn't want to burden her unless absolutely necessary. Chloe was local. Chloe was family. The nurse assured me she would call both. What happened next, I only learned much, much later from the horrifying, fragmented accounts of my brave little children and the cold, hard facts of bank statements and phone records. The betrayal unveiled. My surgery took hours. My recovery in the ICU stretched into days. I was intubated for a while, completely unconscious, fighting for my every breath. When I finally started to emerge from the sedation, I was disoriented, weak, terrified. My first coherent question was to the nurse. My kids, are they okay? Is Chloe with them? The nurse looked uncomfortable. Honey, Your sister, Sarah, flew in yesterday. She's with your children. She's been trying to reach Chloe, but it seems Chloe's phone is off. My heart sunk. Off? That was unlike Chloe. She always had her phone on, especially with the kids. My sister Sarah walked in then, her face a mask of exhaustion and worry, but also a simmering, barely contained rage. Oh, thank God, you're awake. You scared us half to death, Maggie. She told me what happened. The hospital had called Chloe immediately. Chloe had answered, sounding calm. Oh, she collapsed? An aneurysm? That's terrible. Yes, I'll be right over to the hospital to be with her. Then she hung up and never went. Instead, Chloe, knowing I was in a medically induced coma, knowing my children were alone, blocked my number, blocked my sister's number, and even blocked the hospital's number. Then she packed a bag, not her own, but a bag using some of my expensive clothes, as it turns out later. She didn't call Child Protective Services. She didn't call my emergency contacts. She didn't call anyone. She just vanished. Leo, my 8-year-old, bless his brilliant, terrified little heart, had woken up that Tuesday night and found me unresponsive on the living room floor. He'd heard the paramedics leave and then nothing. Chloe was supposed to be there, but she wasn't. He tried to wake me up again and again. Mia, his little sister, was crying. Leo, remembering the 911 call earlier, had taken my phone, carefully found the recents, and redialed. He told the dispatcher, my mommy fell down and then she went to the hospital and now Chloe's gone and we're alone. The police were dispatched. They found my 2 babies, alone, terrified, huddled together in their beds. They immediately called my sister Sarah, who dropped everything and flew across the country, arriving exhausted and frantic to scoop up my traumatized children. While my kids were calling 911 for me, while my sister was managing this absolute nightmare, Chloe was buying a plane ticket with my emergency credit card to Cabo, Mexico. Sarah started explaining it to me. I got here and the police had your kids. Chloe was nowhere. Her phone was off. Then the hospital told me about the card. It had been used for a flight to Cabo, a hotel booking, and several $1,000s in luxury shopping, all since Tuesday evening. My blood ran cold. The woman I trusted, the woman who cared for my kids, had not only abandoned them in a crisis, but had actively chosen to steal from me while I was on the brink of death. Sarah, a formidable force when roused, had immediately flagged the card, but by then, a significant amount had already been spent. She called the police, who confirmed the charges and Chloe's location. They put out a warrant. The Cabo selfies. What makes this sting even deeper is what happened next. While I was in ICU fighting for my life, my kids were traumatized, and my sister was managing this absolute nightmare, Chloe was posting about her much-deserved vacation on Instagram. Sarah, keeping tabs on her, showed me the screenshots later. Chloe in a wide-brimmed hat, sipping a margarita by a resort pool. Chloe on a yacht, laughing, surrounded by strangers. Chloe posing on the beach, captioning one selfie, living my best life. Hashtag Cabo. Hashtag no worries. Hashtag blessed. No worries. While my children were desperately calling for help, while I was literally dying, she was living her best life on my dime, bought with the card I gave her out of trust, not privilege. When the police finally caught up with her in Cabo and extradited her back, she claimed she thought I was fine and that she deserved a break because she'd been working so hard for me. She even claimed she was underpaid and that the credit card was extra compensation. The police rightly laughed her out of the room. She was charged with theft, fraud, and child endangerment. I finally got out of the hospital weeks later.
still recovering from brain surgery, learning to walk properly again. My left side was weak, my speech was a little slurred, but I was alive. My kids were home, slowly healing from the trauma, clinging to me tighter than ever. The stress of all this was immense. I had physical therapy, speech therapy, and the crushing weight of this ongoing legal battle. Chloe was out on bail, somehow. Then came the letter. Not from her lawyer, but directly from her. She was suing me for wrongful termination and unpaid wages. She claimed I fired her without cause and owed me for future earnings. Her argument, my medical emergency was my fault, not hers, and she was simply taking a break when I needed her most. She even had the gall to demand compensation for emotional distress.
My lawyer, a fierce woman named Miss Ramirez, was a godsend. She had all the receipts, my ICU charts showing my critical state, Leo's 911 call transcript detailing his desperate plea for help, the police report, the credit card statements meticulously detailing every single charge from her Cabo trip, the flights, the resort, the lavish meals, the designer sunglasses, the screenshots of her living my best life selfies. Chloe, under cross-examination, tried to explain it away. I thought she just had a bad headache. I didn't know it was an aneurysm. She's always been a little dramatic. And the kids were fine. They're very self-sufficient for their age. Miss Ramirez played the 911 call. Leo's small, scared voice explaining that his mommy was in the hospital and Chloe's gone. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge looked visibly moved. Then Miss Ramirez brought up the blocked numbers. Miss Miller, if you were so concerned about my last name's well-being, why did you block her number, her sister's number, and the hospital's number the moment you were informed of her critical condition? Chloe stammered, I needed peace. My phone was overwhelming. I was stressed. Stressed, Miss Miller, while on a private beach in Cabo, charging $1,500 for a single dinner on your employer's credit card, while her children were calling emergency services for their mother who was dying? Chloe had no answer. She just glared at me across the courtroom. Then came my testimony. I, still recovering, spoke slowly, clearly, detailing the trust I placed in her, the role she played in our shattered family, the horror of waking up knowing my kids had been alone, and the crushing betrayal of seeing her frivolous vacation selfies while I was in the ICU. I talked about how her actions had added a new layer of trauma to my children, who now feared being left alone. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with a reputation for fairness, listened intently. She didn't interrupt. When it was all over, she looked directly at Chloe. Miss Miller, the judge began, her voice cold and unyielding. Your lawsuit for wrongful termination and unpaid wages is not just frivolous, it is an insult to this court and to the plaintiff, who nearly lost her life. You abandoned your duties as a child care provider in the most egregious manner possible, leaving two young, vulnerable children completely unsupervised after their mother suffered a life-threatening medical emergency. You then proceeded to commit grand theft using her credit card, luxuriating on a vacation while this woman lay comatose. You blocked all attempts at contact, clearly demonstrating a deliberate intent to evade responsibility and commit fraud. She continued, the evidence presented, including the 911 call from an 8-year-old child, the credit card statements, and your own social media postings from Cabo, paints a picture of utter callousness and depravity. Not only do I find entirely in favor of the plaintiff, but I'm also awarding her full restitution for every single penny you spent on that credit card, plus all legal fees. Furthermore,
Given your egregious conduct and the clear intent to defraud, I am referring your case back to the district attorney's office to explore additional felony charges for perjury in this court, as well as the initial charges of theft, fraud, and child endangerment. You are a danger to those who will trust you, and your actions are a stain on your profession. Case dismissed with prejudice, with the plaintiff's counterclaim for damages awarded. The courtroom was silent. Chloe's face, which had been smirking moments before, went utterly slack with shock. The bailiffs had to escort her out. I sat there, my lawyer patting my arm, tears silently streaming down my face. Tears not of sadness, but of pure, profound relief. The legal nightmare was finally over. Chloe got exactly what she deserved. She didn't just lose her job. She lost her freedom, her reputation, and any semblance of a future in childcare. She tried to ruin my life, and she ended up ruining her own. I still have a long road to recovery, both physically and emotionally. My kids are still wary, but they're thriving. We're building our new normal, a tighter, more resilient unit. The memory of Chloe's betrayal is a permanent scar, but it's a scar of survival. I nearly died, but I lived. And when I look at my kids safe and loved, I know that's the only victory that truly matters.